My high school advisor was Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, and he arranged for me to get a scholarship to Harvard, in fact, and that began my career as a nuclear scientist. Now, Edward Teller, of course, wanted me to work on the Star Wars program. He put a lot of pressure and said, look, we'll give you fellowships, scholarships, go to Los Alamos National Laboratory, Livermore National Laboratory, design hydrogen bombs. But I said no. I said I cannot see my expertise being used to advance the cause of war.
And you've been very outspoken when it comes to nuclear power in the United States. This, of course, has raised major issues about nuclear power plants around the world. Many countries saying they're not moving forward. President Obama is taking the opposite position. He really is very much the nuclear renaissance man. He is talking about a nuclear renaissance and has not backed off, in fact reiterated, saying this will not stop us from building the first nuclear power plants in what? Decades.
Well, there's something called the Faustian bargain. Faust was this mythical figure who sold his soul to the devil for unlimited power. Now, the Japanese government has thrown the dice with the Faustian bargain. Japan has very little fossil fuel reserves, no hydroelectric power to speak of, and so they went nuclear. However, in the United States, we're now poised at this key juncture in history where the government has to decide whether to go to the next generation of reactors. These are the so-called gas-cooled pebble bed reactors, which are safer than the current design, but they still melt down. The proponents of this new renaissance say that you can go out to dinner and basically have a leisurely conversation even as your reactor melts down. But it still melts. That's the bottom line.
And so what do you think should happen? Do you think nuclear power plants should be built in this country?
I think there should be a national debate, a national debate about a potential moratorium. The American people have not been given the full truth because, for example, right north of New York City, roughly 30 miles north of where we are right now, we have the Indian Point nuclear power plant, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has now admitted that of all the reactors prone to earthquakes, the one right next to New York City is #1 on that list. And the government itself, back in 1980, estimated that property damage would be on the order of about $200 billion in case of an accident in 1980 dollars at the Indian Point nuclear power station.
No private corporation could even build a nuclear power plant. You have to have the taxpayers footing the bill.
You have to have what is called the Price-Anderson Act, having the United States government guarantee the insurance. Nobody will guarantee, nobody will sell an insurance policy for a nuclear power plant, because who can afford a $200 billion accident? That's why the United States government has underwritten the insurance for every nuclear power plant. So the Price-Anderson Act is an act of Congress that mandates the U.S. government, the taxpayers, will underwrite insurance because nuclear power stations are not insurable.
We're talking to Dr. Michio Kaku. We're going to go to break.